Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Niblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G draft strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to bring you the best ADP values across the major three fantasy hockey platforms for this season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, the man who at age 44 knows every kind of ache. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling today?
God, you know what? I want to pull the curtains back for the people out there. I can see the jokes that Nate is writing in the show sheet, and he changed it up on me. Now he's just, this is very hurtful, but it's completely accurate. I'll tell you, Nate, when you get to the ripe old age of 44, you start making noises when you get up. You just it doesn't even make sense. The noises, I don't understand where it's coming from. And my ear hair is starting to get out of control. Anyways, that's fine. But before that, I felt amazing. I felt like a freshly signed Nick Robertson, just ready to get into a game and nothing bad would happen at all. I'd just get in, I'd maybe score a goal. I think, that would be a really nice way, just to start my day. I don't know. How are you doing there, Nate?
I'm doing all right. I recently turned 33, so 11 more years and I'll feel your pain. But I've got a little bit of time, I think, to get myself there. Well, Blake, I think we should dive right in. We are talking about ADP values. So what we've done for this exercise is we've gone across Fantrax, we've gone across ESPN, we've gone across Yahoo. We've pulled out what you and I both think are some of the best values at ADP across these platforms that you might be playing your fantasy hockey leagues on this year. And we're going to give those to the people. Let's dive right in. Actually, let's not. Let's talk about Drafters Fantasy. I've been loving this. I'm up over 100 teams drafted now. It's getting to be a bit of a problem, but
how is that possible, my man? What this? First off, Nate's independently wealthy. We know this now.
No, honestly, it's been a lot of people using the promo code Genos, Ginos, first time deposit match up to $100. Every time you do that, I get a little bit of site credit. So I've been using that to my advantage and putting in entry after entry in the $11 best ball tournament that Drafters has going. $50,000 in prizes, $10,000 to first place. So if you want to get in those streets, then you should definitely do that. Okay, now I'm done misleading the good people of our listenership. Let's dig into our ADP values. So basically what we're going to do here, I'm going to give my 5 values from each site, and then I'm going to toss it to you, Blake, and you can tear me apart or praise me independently as you feel is necessary, and then we'll do the same for you. First up, we're going to do Fantrax. So for myself here, the top one has got to be Tage Thompson. We've been talking about this guy and the potential on him this year. Talked about him in the high risk, high reward show that I did the other day. ADP on Fantrax is 40.3. I will say, Fantrax, out of all the 3 that we're going to talk about here today, Fantrax was the sharpest ADP. I don't know if you felt the same way about that, Blake.
Yeah, I think it's just because people do Dynasty on there. They're just a bit more plugged in, and I don't know. It's more detail oriented. So you get even Yahoo's a bit more casual, even though I like Yahoo a lot better for the interface. Yeah, definitely the ADP is better over on Fantrax.
Yeah, I still think that Tage Thompson at ADP 40 is somebody that you're going to be interested in a lot. Obviously, that's early to mid 4th round. If you can get Tage Thompson there, I think you're absolutely laughing just because of the potential. I think he should at the very least pay off that draft capital that you're going to put into him there, and there's potential for him to absolutely explode beyond that and give you a ton more. So that's a pretty obvious one off the rip. Carter Verhaeghe, we talked about Verhaeghe as a potential ADP value when we went through the Florida projection series. And yeah, it seems like this is where his ADP is going to settle for this draft season. ADP 54 on Fantrax. This is a guy who's going to be right around 40 goals, 80 points, in my opinion, this year. Has cemented now his top power play spot. I just can't figure out a reason why Carter Verhaeghe isn't going to pay off this 54 ADP plus some at the end of all of it. So yeah, if you can get him in the 5th round of your drafts, you're absolutely loving life. This one, I think it might be the one that you single out here, Blake, but I've got Mark Stone at ADP 135.6 as a potential value. And a lot of this, I mean, I've talked a lot about my philosophy on injuries, and I know, Blake, you feel the same, that we don't like to bake that in. Mark Stone is definitely a different case. He's dealt with recurring back problems. Stuff that just doesn't usually go away just like that. Has said that he's healthy going into the season, has said that this was probably the most work that he could do in the offseason to prepare himself for the season. Saw that quote from him the other day. So
Yeah.
it does seem like as far as as far as the start of the season goes, this is about as good as it gets for Mark Stone. But I think this is a point where fantasy managers are just sick of it with Mark Stone. They're sick of him, taking off the last part of the season while the Vegas Golden Knights do some fancy LTIR maneuvers. And so they're worried about that. And I understand that. But at ADP 135, you are taking absolutely no risk on. You're getting a guy who's probably going to score at a 70-point pace when healthy. And if he only does that for the first 3 quarters of the season, I'll take it at ADP 135. Quite honestly, I think that's huge value and not something you should ignore. Justin Folk, 144.6. Love the value on Justin Folk there. I think that's a really good spot to pick up a potential power play 1 defenseman. Still haven't been able to get a really good read on what the Blues are going to do with their power play units so far. So I'm still a little bit waiting to see how that shakes out. But either way, I do think Justin Falk is at least going to return this value. And if he gets power play 1 all season long, I think he could vastly exceed it. And then lastly here, I've got Gabriel Landeskog, ADP 186.8, being left for dead at the end of your drafts. And I feel like it's just a guy that it costs you nothing to throw on the end of your bench here. Throw him in your IR and you just see where he's at. And if he does come back, if he's 60% of the player he was before, like we saw what McKinnon and Rantanen did for Jonathan Drouin's career last year, Gabe Landeskog, even like half of his former self, is probably still just as good as Jonathan Drouin. And so I think you're probably going to be pretty happy with Landeskog being in your lineup if and when he does return from injury. Sounds like he's working towards getting there for sometime not that far after puck drop. And so we'll see if that actually comes true, but I just feel like at ADP 186, what are we doing here? It's mindless. You just throw him on your IR, pick up a streamer for the first week in his place, and you see when he can get into your lineup and start producing. So, Blake, I'll turn it over to you. Rip me apart or praise me for my inerring judgment. What do you have for me?
Nah, I can't. I can't rip you apart. I mean, yeah, these all make sense, save for Mark Stone. I'm just like what you said makes sense too, sure, but like I don't want the headache. Like in and around ADP 135 on Fantrax, like there's some reasonable assets there that, like, for instance, JJ Paterka is like right around that area. Like I'd rather take an upside play than a guy that he doesn't have any periffs. First of all, he's not a good power play performer. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't get chances. What Mark Stone does is he's really good defensively. Like he's really great at, team defense and setting up chances and shots for his teammates, but he's reliant on his teammates. He lost the center in Chandler Stevenson. So, just there's some variance there. And I'm just not on the player. I don't have a do not draft list. I really don't. And if I did, it would have one guy on it and it would be Mark Stone. So I'm not interested there, but like you said, 135, it's, whatever. It's not a big deal if you go take Mark Stone. It's just, I think there are better options there. I love the Landeskog there. I'm just looking here. Is that the lowest he is at 186 there on Fantrax? Out of the
That
three
might very well be.
because yeah, that's a no-brainer. I've taken him earlier in a draft that I did, and I still felt good about it because yeah, like if he comes back, like he's not going to come back until he's fully ready to go, and he's going to be into the top 6 there and probably power play 1, which is a really nice place to be. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. You can get him in if you have IR plus, you slam him in there, and you just bring him up when you're ready to go. But yeah, Mark Stone, I don't know about that. Hi, Mark. Bye, Mark. All right, do not draft that man. Well, if Nate tells you to, I guess you should, but I don't know. I'm not going to be doing it.
All right. All right, like give it to me. Give me your top 5 Fantrax ADP values.
Give it to me, buddy. First, I gotta say, I don't think. Did you get my Nick Robertson reference here? Like the guy, he pushed Willie Nylander into the thing, and Willie Nylander got the injury. You know what I'm talking about here?
I
Did you
didn't
see
see
this?
it. No, I haven't not
Okay,
seen it. I've
all right.
been preparing very diligently for the episode, Blake.
Okay, well, there you go. I don't know. Google it later. Really ridiculous play for Nick Robertson. Anywho, we'll carry on there. Yeah, because I didn't get the response I wanted from the joke, and that hurt my feelings. Anyways, my number one Fantrax ADP value is going to be Matty Barzal. He's ADP at 73.5. And, I've talked about this player a lot here in the offseason, and nothing's changed. Like, to me, this guy is a point per game player that is already like massively inefficient. Like he's a chucker. He's a bit of a chucker. Like he had the most shots on goal per 60 of his career last year. And a stinky shooting percentage at 9.6, and he still got 23 goals, 57 assists, 80 points in 80 games. Bang. Big time minutes on Barzal. And, now we got Duclair, Big Dookie on the line with Horvat and Barzal, and they look pretty darn good. I like that pair, and I like the minutes here that Barzal's getting. So, my feelings on this player. 73 makes no sense. I think at minimum, we're looking at a point per game player here, or 75 to 80 point player minimum. With room for more if he can get his efficiency going. So that type of player at 73, no, that makes no sense. So you got to get yourself some Matty Barzal or pick him up at 73 and love your life. Okay, because that's excellent. My number 2, this guy is getting faded all over. I think I have him in another one too. Erik Karlsson. I don't understand. Yeah, he's not the Erik Karlsson of old, but his ADP on Fantrax is 75. Why? Like he had a down year last year. That was clear. Pittsburgh did in general, right? And we know the story with the power play there. It was terrible. This guy in 2022-23 had 27 power play points. His first year in Pittsburgh, the full power play treatment, 17 power play points. What? I don't understand. Eric, please, explain yourself. But I really like 56 points he had. I think that's absolute floor for this player. I think he's closer to 60 to 65 points. And at 75, like this is the player that you go out and get if you miss on, the top couple tiers of defensemen. Like just know that Erik Karlsson is out there. And I don't think there's any worry in drafting this guy. He's played 2 straight seasons of 82 games. Injury narrative be damned. Get this guy, he's good to go. Right. So I don't know. I am a fan of Erik Karlsson. I think he is, maintain he's probably the best offensive defenseman in the league in terms of the weapons that he brings, the offensive contribution that he offers the team. He was unlucky last year, very unlucky. Pittsburgh was stunk on the power play. At 75, this is a laugher. I think if you can get him at 75, you're off to a great start there. My number 3 preseason all-star, JJ Peterka. Yeah, buddy. He's going off, and I love it. I just missed out on him in my couple draft. That really pissed me off. I got sniped. I was looking to pick him up in like the 9th round or the 10th round or something like that. And yeah, just take him right out of my grasp. But he looks good to go. He's top line, top power play, and he's looking confident out there. So I think I've liked what I've seen from Buffalo. It's just preseason, but they're 3-0. Which is really nice. Tage is going. Peterka is going. Tuck is going. Dahlin, the new captain. They got the new coach in there. I'm pretty into Buffalo this year, and not just because of the preseason, but it's not hurting. You know what I mean? Yeah, 3-0, 3-0 to start. And Peterka is, he got a hat trick in his first game. This guy's popping off. So his ADP is 137. What? This guy should be in the top 100, right? And I'm glad that he's not, because that means value for us, right? So definitely draft JJ Peterka with confidence. He's not going to give you any periffs. He doesn't do that, but you're not drafting him for that. You're drafting him for offense, and he's gonna be a wagon this year. Like his ice time last year, 16 minutes, 24 seconds. No. Yeah. He's going to be bumped way up at least to 18 and a half, in my opinion. So 137 makes no sense. Get to biz with JJ Peterka. My number 4 in Fantrax, Jonathan Huberdeau. I had to throw him on here. This has to get better, right, Nate? I mean, it has to. We didn't think, just when you thought you couldn't get any worse, Jonathan Huberdeau goes out and gets 3 points less than 55 points that he got in 2022-23. So, they got to make it work with Huberdeau. And I love what I've heard in the offseason. Head coach Ryan Huska went to his house and they spent some time together. Like they're talking about the future of the team. This guy, whether they like it or not, is a key piece of this team, and they have to find a way to unlock him. And I think that starts on the power play. Like right now he's down low playing on the power play, where he's better kind of on the flanks, right? Like they have to make some adjustments and play to Huberdeau's style, and they haven't done that. And I think that we're going to see a little bit more of that this year. That said, I mean, like, we're looking at like 60 to 65 points is probably where I'm comfortable projecting Huberdeau. I'm not projecting some blast off, but he's got some real value. 177 is his ADP. He's left wing, right wing eligible. He's going to get top power play, in my opinion. And, he's playing with the popsicle, Martin Pospisil, that 40-point wonder that Nate totally agrees with that take. But yeah, I think he's going to have a little bit of a resurgence, nothing crazy, but at 177, this is no risk for you to pick up Johnny Huberdeau. If he's terrible, bounce him. And then lastly, Matty Beniers, I'm not going to talk too much on him, but his ADP is 217. I don't get that. Obviously he had a down year last year, but this guy just, he just secured the bag. He got a massive contract. I really do think, like, we did see the power play lines come out today, but it was a little bit cryptic. I don't know if you saw that tweet. It was like, Beniers and Eberle and McCann, or no, it was Bjorkstrand, McCann, Eberle, but with Vince Dunn on the back end. Yeah. So it's like, is that the top power play, or is the Montour one with, Tolvanen and some of the other guys the top power play? I don't know. But you got to think it's going to be Beniers. He's going to get a career high power play points. I think he's good for 60 to 65 points. That's a laugher at 217. Buddy, you could pick this guy up in your last pick, and I think it's an absolute smash. This is a guy that's going to be valuable for you in fantasy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I like the list. I think I'm having some trouble picking out one, which is a good sign. I think we can conclusively take that as a good sign.
I'm going to clip that. Yeah, just and show it to my wife. When she doubts my fantasy hockey prowess.
Yeah, I can't imagine she does that too often, but
she does all the time. She chirps me all the time. It's terrible.
All right, maybe something else I have to look forward to at age 44. But JJ Peterka, I think, is the one that I want to circle and highlight. Like, for sure, this is a guy you want to be in on. We had some comments on the sleepers video, like, how are you not talking about JJ Peterka? We kind of felt like it was pretty overdone. Not everybody was talking about Peterka as a sleeper. Is he really a sleeper if everybody's talking about a sleeper? I don't think so, but is he an ADP value at 138? Yeah, absolutely. Definitely into that. Yeah, I still have some questions about Peterka as to how high the ceiling really is, if he can be more higher efficiency guy to go along with the high rate stats, but I'm willing to pay this price to find out, because I really think you're paying for baseline production with Peterka, and if he's more than that, then you get that as bonus on top. So I think Peterka is the one I really want to highlight from your list there on Fantrax. Let's move over now and let's talk about some ESPN. I'll give you mine and you can tear them apart. But Jack Hughes at an ADP of 28.3 on ESPN is absolutely bananas. That makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, if you can draft Jack Hughes in the third round in any fantasy league that is not like a penalty minutes only league or something like that, then that makes no sense to me. That's one of the most egregious ADPs I've ever seen in my life. Evan Bouchard, ADP 36.9, nearly as bad. Not quite, but nearly as bad. That's pretty ridiculous as well. Guy can be a point per game as a defenseman. Absolutely going to crush for you. Jesper Bratt also makes the list. Jack Hughes' teammate, playing with Timo Meier and Jack Hughes on lines in camp so far, which would be absolutely dynamite in my opinion. Be crazy to see that kind of talent on one line and obviously on the power play together. But an ADP of 92.9 for Jesper Bratt, guy with 90 plus potential, guy I talked about in the players who could hit 100 points for the first time episode that we did closer to the start of the offseason here. Yeah, I just think that there's some pretty ridiculous ceiling outcomes for Jesper Bratt, and even his worst outcome easily exceeds this 92.9 ADP. Seth Jarvis at ADP 156. This is a guy that they basically have to build around with the contract they gave him, with the departures this offseason. Seth Jarvis absolutely has to pay off this ADP if Carolina is going to do anything this year, and I think he will. I don't see a reason to really doubt him. He has not really let anybody down so far. He had a breakout season last year despite playing through like torn labrum and some other injuries throughout the majority of the year, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, we could have a separate discussion about athletes playing through injuries, but the fact that he was able to produce while doing that is pretty crazy. And I expect him to have an even better season this year. And then lastly, Shea Theodore. In this particular setup for ESPN, like ESPN's base points setup is 2 points per goal, 1 point per assist, zero 0.5 for special teams points, 0.1 for shots on goal, and 0.1 for hits, but 0.5 for block shots. And that just kind of like tailors itself really well to what Shea Theodore is good at. He does block shots, but he doesn't hit. And so you get a big emphasis on block shots in ESPN, but not so much on the hits. That works in Shea Theodore's favor. If Theodore does get the top power play, you're talking about a guy who could be a 70-point pace player. People will talk to you about how he's never had, like a full 82 game season. He's missed a lot of time. If you know me, that doesn't concern me too much. I'll take the production when he's healthy, and I'll be okay when he's not, as long as I can get him at ADP 196. I can definitely deal with that. Definitely feel like there are some wild ADP values to be had on ESPN, but what do you have to say about this group, Blake?
I mean, this right here could be the first 5 picks of your team. Like what? What are they doing over there at ESPN? I mean, stick to basketball or football, boys. I mean, this show ain't no good. I got to get in some ESPN leagues. This is nuts. So yeah, these are all egregious, honestly. Like it makes no sense. The Jesper Bratt one in particular, like how? Yeah, actually all of them. Yeah, but Bratt, Jarvis, Theodore, like they make no sense. Jack Hughes is a borderline first rounder going at 28. No. I think you got to be in on all these players. It doesn't make a bit of sense. Nate and I will do an ADP reaches episode as well, and we'll be able to detail some of these players on ESPN that are going ahead of these guys. Like, well, explain yourself. We got to get a guy from ESPN here just to explain this. Is that might be something we're looking at doing here, Nate? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe we have to at
Right.
this point.
The people need to know.
The people absolutely deserve to know. Let's kick it over to you, Blake. Give me your values on the ESPN platform.
You bet, buddy. Cool. All right. Yeah, my first one is Matthew Boldy. The currently injured Matthew Boldy. His ADP over on ESPN 96.5. Huh? Like we've already got reports that Matt Boldy is probably going to start the season. Like that's just reports, but I mean, I saw a tweet that said, he didn't even realize he was injured until he got home, and he's like, oh yeah, like felt a little something. Like this is an abundance of caution with one of their star players, and I think he's going to be good to go to start the season. Does he start off slow because he didn't play training camp or games? Maybe. Who the hell cares? They don't have anybody else there in Minnesota, right? It's going to be the Boldy, Jeek, Kaprasov show. And and Boldy has developed. He's a better player than he was last year. I really am still very excited about this player. I think it's a guy that should go probably in the 4th round, and you get him here at 96. What? It makes no sense. So yeah, definitely Matt Boldy is one. Timo Meier is the second one I have. He's a value everywhere, to be honest. It's this one doesn't make a bit of sense to me either. ADP 116 over on ESPN. This guy is a Cats League beauty. He's unbelievable. Shots, hits, and the narrative that we had last year with him, it's not there anymore, right? We just saw a line that he's playing with Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes and Timo Meier. ADP 116. What? No. For God's sake, that makes no sense. I think you and I are both really big on Timo Meier this year, like for 75 to 80 points. I think we both projected in around there. And that's, I think that's still kind of conservative. That's still baking in like he's not exactly like a kind of a boom type of player, right? He's a supplement to these two players that he's playing with that are amazing rushers, and he's just going to be Johnny on the spot, pounding pucks into the net. So, I'm really big on Timo Meier, ADP 116. No. Number 3 for me over on ESPN, Brandon the Bagel Hagel. And we love this one, don't we, Nate? He's getting power play 1. We saw it. So Hagel's getting power play 1. They're actually moving Cooch around, and he's doing other stuff because he can do that. He's Kucherov, and it doesn't matter where he plays. So I love that. I'm really glad they're not going Nick Paul on the power play, at least currently. I think Hagel brings a lot to the table there. They're looking at a different unit there with Gensel out there. So I think we're going to see a career high for Brandon Hagel. And at 148 ADP in ESPN, what are we doing? What are we doing over here? And he's a left winger. And this is interesting. I kind of want to get your take on this real quick, Nate. Do you feel like left wings this year are kind of the right wings of old? Like we've talked about a little bit in our best ball leagues with the left wingers being a little bit more scarce. Do you find that it's still the case in these type of leagues with the dual eligibility? Like, is left wing the new right wing?
No, I don't think so. I think right wing is still definitely more scarce, especially on Yahoo, which is where I play the majority of my leagues. So that's where I focus. But yeah, I think in particular on Fantrax, it was a little bit the early eligibilities that we were seeing with the best ball, and how best ball you can only play with one position. You can't have the dual eligibility for best ball, because that would kind of break the computer's brain, I guess, on Fantrax for our best ball leagues. So I think it was a little bit of just a unique thing that was happening on Fantrax. Yeah, I think perhaps it's slightly more scarce than in years past at left wing, but it's not something that I'm giving like a whole lot of thought to relative to previous years.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did find it to be a little bit scarcer, to your point, in the couple draft that I did. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, like it just wasn't, the guys weren't there that I was hoping for, right? Like I really focused on picking up wingers so that I could get centers late, because yeah, it was slim pickings. But anyways, Brandon Hagel, like another thing, this guy, he had 75 points last year, 7 points on the power play. Now he's playing on power play 1, and he's a hell of a lot better than Nick Paul. I think we see 15 power play points minimum out of Hagel. So just throw that right on top if he's able to keep his even strength deployment, yada, yada, yada. Get yourself some Brandon Hagel at ADP 148. It's a no-brainer. Number 4, I've got Jake the Snake DeBrusque. He's a great sleeper, and they really fell asleep over at ESPN there. 212 ADP. They forgot he existed, and they just threw him in at the end. They're like, oh, yeah, put Jake DeBrusque over here. This guy's going to play with Pedersen all year. He's going to play power play 1 pretty much all year. What at 212, like if he's sitting there, he also, he does other things, right? He brings other things to the table. The guy's a beefer, 107 hits, 50 blocks last year. He's going to do that again. So, and I think he's going to get a career high in power play points. So I'm big on Jake DeBrusque. We've talked about him a lot, and at 212 makes no sense. And then lastly, Gabriel Velarde, another guy he's being faded in every platform. And I don't get it. I really don't get what's going on with Gabriel Velarde here, besides the fact that he was injured last year, had a medical issue, but his ADP is 229 over on ESPN. He's line 1, power play 1. They've confirmed that. Scott Arniel has confirmed that Gabriel Velarde will play with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor on line 1, and he's going to get power play 1. So 229.
Yeah.
This guy's also dual eligible, center right wing. So massively valuable player. Granted, he's not bringing like much to the table peripherally, and he's also based on he's a highly efficient player, right? A couple seasons straight with a almost 19% shooting percentage, but he's also a net front guy. He's a scoring chance guy. That's why the shot percentage is high. So I don't get it. This is a player you should absolutely have on your team, and if he's there in your last 2 or 3 or 4 picks, I'd be happy picking up Gabriel Velarde. So I don't know. What do you think of these 5 here, Nate?
Yeah, I like the list for sure. I'm never gonna miss a chance to steam up my guy Matt Boldy, so I love that. Timo Meyer, I guess it makes a little bit more sense on this particular platform where shots on goal and hits are a little bit undervalued relative to the other categories, but definitely, yeah, still at 115, you're getting a guy who we're projecting close to a point per game. Doesn't make any sense, but I really think the values with these late guys that you're onto here, especially Velarde, like that one's just crazy to me. A guy who's going to play top line, top power play, and like who's really challenging him for those minutes? Like we were wondering if Ehlers was even going to make the top power play. Even if he does, that's not taking anything away from Velarde. Yeah, is Perfetti going to come in and take Velarde's spot after barely getting a contract signed in time to play in in some preseason games here. I don't think so. I think Velarde's pretty locked in, and I have a big old projection on him in terms of goal scoring. So I love the Gabriel Velarde discount that you can get late in drafts. And as you mentioned, it is really across platforms, so that's not one that's strictly confined to ESPN either. All right, let's roll over to Yahoo for the last group here. I've got 5 here for you that I think you should be pretty interested in. Top of the list, Dougie Hamilton. This one's definitely going to rise up with the Luke Hughes news. That's a mouthful
Luke
for
Hughes
you.
in the news.
Luke Hughes is in the news. I can't even say it.
Oh God.
But Dougie Hamilton, even if he's going 2 rounds higher than this, I think he's still probably going to be a value based on that news. So I love Dougie Hamilton in this range. And then Timo Meyer I have in here as well. We just talked about him on your list with ESPN. Even at 67 on Yahoo, I think he actually fits Yahoo's categories a lot better. And so on Yahoo, for him to go in this range, I think he should probably be more like a 3rd, 4th round value there. So I love that discount that you're getting on Timo Meyer. Get those 2 New Jersey Devils stacked up, and you're going to be loving life. Zach Werenski, never going to miss a chance to hype him up either. ADP 115. I understand, like, on Yahoo, they have plus minus as a base stat. And so the Columbus guys, the San Jose guys, the Montreal guys, they all get pushed down the rankings just because of the probable plus minus problem. But if that's not your league, like if you're on playing in a league on Yahoo and plus minus is not a category that you're worried about, and hopefully it's not in your custom league on Yahoo, then you should be aware of the fact that a lot of these guys are going to be artificially pushed down because of that in the ADP. Zach Werenski being chief among them. I think I've said everything I can say on Zach Werenski. Absolutely elite offensive defenseman in the league. Jared McCann at ADP 147 makes absolutely no sense to me. This is a guy with 75.40 goal potential, and I think that he should be going in the double digit ADPs, not the triple digits. So that's a guy that I'm absolutely all about there. And then Brian Rust, who I've talked about potential for a 70-point season this year at ADP 149. Again, just a guy that I think you can take to the bank. Yes, he's had problems staying healthy, but you are going to absolutely love the production. Again, a situation where they literally have nobody else to play alongside Sidney Crosby. I think he's going to be stapled there to Crosby, even strength power play all year long, and it's going to be a really good season for Brian Rust this year. What do you have to say about this group here, Blake?
Oh, you bet your sweet bippy, buddy. Brian Rust, he's so keen on beefarino. What a delicious cuisino. Oh God, I'm sorry. Yeah, this team is these 5 are ridiculous. I mean, first off, if you have plus minus in your league, punt it. All right, punt it into the sun. Who the hell cares? You want the premium offensive production that Zach Werenski is going to give you. And at 115, dear God. But yeah, all these are ridiculous. Dougie Hamilton to me is he's kind of in that 2nd to 3rd tier of defensemen. And to get him at 67 that's again another laugher. This guy's one of the best shot producing defensemen in the league, and to for him to fall there, plus with Luke Hughes out, yeah, it's go time for Dougie Hamilton. I think he could start the season on power play 1 and maybe not relinquish it. So yeah, I'm big on that. Obviously Jared McCann as well. I picked him up in Cupful around this ADP or maybe around before, and I felt amazing about it. Love me some Jared McCann this year. So yeah, great list. I'm here for it. All right.
All right then, Blake. See what you can do. See if you can one up me.
Oh, yeah, I'll let everyone else know too. Nate added his 5 players in every platform before me. So, I didn't want to duplicate players. So I'm trying my best here, but I think we got a good cross section of players here, like, through all of the rounds. And so anyways, my Yahoo ADP values, number 1 with the bullet, Cole Caulfield, ADP 81. We just talked about McCann being, a 40 and 30 guy. Caulfield, he could get 50. I mean, we didn't project him that way, but he could get 50. He could do that. I mean, just put the biscuit in the basket, Cole. He's, like obviously his shooting percentage fell off a cliff last year. Power play was reasonable, but not even as good as his line mates and his other power play 1 performers. So there's room there. Like there's just a lot of ways for Caulfield to, destroy this ADP. And he's left wing, right wing eligible as well on Yahoo. Majorly valuable. I think this is a dunk. if you're getting him at 81, it's a massive dub for you. I'd take him a lot sooner, maybe in like the 5th round, maybe even the 4th if I was at the turn and I had to reach. Like I'd be happy reaching around for Cole Caulfield. Giggity. Call me Cole. Anyways, weird. Got weird. Anyways, number 2, Rupe Hintz, and I only mentioned him here on Yahoo, but again, another guy that is being massively undervalued in all 3 formats that we talk about here, or platforms. So his ADP on Yahoo, 95.3. What the hell? Power play 1 with Jason Robertson, who is going to be ready for the season, sounds like, start of the season. And why Joe? Our favorite guy over here, like he's in the middle there. He's the pivot. He's doing stuff. And one thing about Hintz too, we've talked about this in the past. He's really like his on ice numbers on the power play are like ridiculous. So he's driving a lot of offense. He's not getting in on the offense as much, but I think it's a matter of time. Like his career high power play points is 24. I think he could see that again. Like it went down to 19 last year. That's going to bounce back, right? Like he had a down season because Dallas has a really good middle 6, but I think their middle 6 kind of got a little bit worse, or, maybe not worse, but with Johnston going up to the top line, yeah, sure, it did get a little bit worse. And I think they're going to prioritize that top line and top power play just a little bit more, just enough for, Hintz to smash his 95 ADP. That's ridiculous. 70 point player minimum to me, 95 ADP. What the hell are we doing here? Number 3, I've got Erik Karlsson again, 97 on Yahoo. He was in the 70s in Fantrax. He's 97 in Yahoo. It makes no sense. Like this guy, he's going to be so much better on the power play. So I've already talked on Erik Karlsson, but he's even more valuable here in Yahoo. So check that out. Number 4, my boy, my guy. I'm probably going to have this guy on every single team that I draft. I don't know, but Martin Necas, he's become the cream of the crop poster boy. I don't know. This is his ADP is 122, and that's stupid. That is absolutely stupid. Like he's line 2, but did you see the new lines there, Nate?
I did.
We'll see if this happens, right? I do think that if like what it is Necas, Kotkaniemi centering, and then Svechnikov on the left wing. So if that's the case, I'm feeling really good about my Necas projection, which I think is 69 points or 70 points, something like that. Excuse me. I think that, there's definitely room for that to even pop off a little bit more if he gets access to Svech. Because, I think they played well together before. They played a lot together in Necas's big season. So keep an eye on that. But even if he doesn't get Svech on that line, I still like him for the 69 points. And at 122, where he's being drafted, that makes no sense. So, we're going to hear it a lot. It makes no sense, and it doesn't. All right. I love me some Martin Necas there. And plus, he bangs a little bit. He's got some bits and pieces, 77 hits, 35 blocks there last year. So he's not going to crush you there. And then last, big Gino of Apples and Ginos, Evgeny Malkin. Yeah, another guy. Actually, 2 of the platforms. I think he was steamed up on ESPN for some reason. They were drafting him at like 55, which really is silliness. But in Fantrax and Yahoo, Evgeny Malkin, his ADP it's garbage, right? Like he's going at 165. That's nuts. And this is a guy, I think even at his worst, he's probably going to walk into 60 points, especially because I think the power play is going to be a lot better there. So shout out to Evgeny Malkin at ADP 166. You fade centers and Malkin sitting there at 166. Pick him up. But yeah, what do you think about these 5 here, Nate?
Yeah, all makes sense to me for sure. I kind of see what, you have to think about it, I guess, a little bit through the lens of the platform. So yeah, we talked about the plus minus. That's probably affecting Cole Caulfield, probably Erik Karlsson there, as well as Karlsson doesn't really hit, which is a key stat on Yahoo. So I kind of get it, but I do agree that Karlsson has that big time offensive upside, has been dealing with a little bit of an injury in training camp, so that'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Totally agree on Hintz. Hintz is a target for me this offseason. Baby Dry, going to come back this year and prove all the haters wrong. I do like the Necas take as well. I'm trying to temper my enthusiasm because I do think that the most likely scenario for the majority of the year is that we get like a loaded up top line and Necas has to play with guys who are just not near the caliber of those guys on the top line. And so I'm trying to tamp it down, but I do think that Necas really has something to prove this year and has and will get opportunity at least on the top power play, which is confirmed by the lines we've seen so far. So that much I'm definitely excited about. I do think that the talent is there with Martin Hs. It really just comes down to deployment and who he's playing with. And at that ADP, I think you can definitely pay it to find out and be pretty happy with the result. All right, that is going to do it for this one. Make sure you check out the Apples and Genos Fantasy Guide. If you haven't done that already, go to Patreon, go to shop, and for $7.99 Canadian, it can be yours. 141 pages of fantasy goodness. Join the Discord community, link in the description. Like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, all those good things help us to keep doing this. But that's going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. Any advanced stats you may have heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.